Hi, I'm Lisa Mirabile, and I'm here with Jack Maseka, and we're moving you into the future with the Advance Group.
Hey, Lisa, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. There's a lot going on in the world of moving and the return to office in New York City. They're throwing fireworks out there.
Oh, you're not
It's officially
kidding.
back.
Yep.
Things are happening. So it's finally happening, which is very good, very exciting.
Thank God. It is well worth the wait.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of new beginnings and exciting things, and that's why, what we do at the Advance Group with reopening these offices and the return to offices and reconfiguring the offices, it's all very exciting, and, we're starting to see a real shift in the conversations that we're having with companies about the return. It's starting to get a lot more serious. Before it was, let's wait and see. And now it's, okay, we need to make this happen. So we're making it happen.
Well, it's been all over the news.
It has.
Right?
A lot of
So
different
Google,
companies. Right, yeah.
missing the mark. Apple kind of missing the mark. It is a big conversation.
Right. And Google and Apple have thousands and thousands and thousands of employees globally. And you can't make all of them happy. That is an impossible task. However, you certainly have to have a pulse of your employees and what they want. And we saw at both Google and Apple, they rolled out these plans where Apple said they were going to return to office 3 times a week. I believe Google said 2 times a week. And employees had a problem with that. They did not like that idea. I thought it was very reasonable, just from my point of view. But then again, you can see why employees do have a problem with it. And,
I understand why they definitely have a problem with it. I guess they don't feel heard. But, on the other side of the coin, we do have to get back to work. It is our economy. Your employer does still pay your paycheck. I know this is very controversial.
Right, exactly.
Right?
But
very controversial. First, we had work from home burnout, sort of, right? Everyone was fatigued, working nonstop, right? When we first, I think, started working from home, we were scared. Right? So we were working twice as hard, all holding on to our jobs, not knowing and fearful of the future. Husbands and wives were on schedules, balancing one another. Okay, you take this shift, I take that shift, between kids, food, everything
and
else
like
that
all the
goes
while,
along.
all the while being scared you're going to get COVID any day, right? So there's a lot of stress and
lots of stress.
It was a very much team effort from a corporate and company-wide initiative that okay, right now we have to work from home. We can't be in the office. It's not safe. And then what companies found, and employees too, is that we don't necessarily need to be in the office in order to get our work done and be a successful company. So that's been proven, right? And that's what employees now are kind of saying, that I did my job for a year working from home, and whether or not I want to go in the office should be up to me. And obviously, the C-level people and people on top of companies don't feel that way. They feel, And
I mean, from my standpoint, I think that getting back to normal, although it might not be 100%, it does mean returning to the office in some way, shape, or form and capacity. I mean, we have seen that productivity can stay on par, right?
Of course.
So we've seen that. But there is a certain lack of collaboration that doesn't happen, and certain projects and certain tasks do need that collaborative effort. And allowing the employee to dictate the culture, I think, is a miss. As a C-level person on my own, this is, again, an opinionated show right now.
It's getting a little heated.
I'm all for the taking it slow. I'm for the taking it slow and being cautious because, of course, everyone's safety is number one importance. But, I don't think what they were asking was so out of the norm. 3 days a week? I mean, that seems to be pretty tolerable for me.
I agree. And I think, what Tim Cook and these CEOs were trying to do when they made these statements were showing that, okay, we're willing to be flexible. However, it wasn't perceived that way from employees because it almost, to them, I think, sounded like a demand. Like they need to be in the office. And what could have happened, I think, which might have been a little bit more collaborative, the word that you said before,
yes.
in terms of working from home and throughout all of this, is maybe having a little bit more of like, what did we do to the office to make it, more engaging or more safe for employees? Like, what new safety protocols do we have? How have we spaced things out? What type of creative ideas and solutions have we done as a company? And I mean, especially companies like Google and Apple, where creativity is like the foundation of what they do. What are they doing that's innovative to these offices? And from what I gather, obviously I don't work there, but I feel like that's kind of what was missing. And, that's where companies like Google and Apple can really learn from their employees. These are a lot of engineers and people who have these great ideas. And that's why when the Apple employees push back saying that they haven't been heard, it was almost kind of lazy. And I think that's what we're seeing from not just large companies, but small companies as well. It's just these lazy.
I don't know. Is it lazy, or is it just, I think, a culture of complaining?
Well, that's very
honestly.
true too. And
they're two different things, right? Because the productivity has proven to be on task, which is great. But then I think, okay, we were home, so now we're going to complain because we're home. All right, now we're going back to work. I'm going to complain because we're going back to work. I think the miss is the communication.
Right.
And I think that's where everyone is really lacking, because making people feel safe, feel comfortable, feel heard are the important and key points to what I've taken away from the news. And as a C-level, this is what I'm trying to implement. And, I have to rely on outside counsel when it comes to certain things like the safety of my employees or the safety of the people my team that I'm responsible for. And I have to look at other people and say, okay, what cleaning do I need to do?
Right.
How do I then project that and communicate that to my employees, that it's happening on a daily basis, and that even though we're vaccinated, we're not going to take it lightly. There are different strains, different things going on, and we're not going to slow that down. Their safety is utmost importance. And then, what else? And go to, people like yourself, a moving consultant, and saying, how can I kind of reconfigure the office to accommodate the needs of my employees? Because I do want to accommodate at some point. It's got to be a 50-50 in my own opinion. It's got to be a 50-50. So when you talk about accommodating the needs of employees, what do you encounter, and what's happening on your side?
Right. So actually, that's a great question. And what we're doing at the advanced group. So, I know very well the logistical aspects of reconfiguring an office, or, even the cleaning aspect of the time coordination of making that all happen, within the constraints of when employees are in the office and things of that nature. I've actually been working on myself partnering with different individuals, whether it's in real estate or in office furniture or in technology, both within the advanced group and outside, and kind of building these teams, consulting teams for these companies to rely on. And this way we can work together, project management firms as well, if they're taking on bigger projects with reconfiguring the offices. We work together to make this happen, and we all have our specialties. And we're coming together to kind of offer packages to employees, nationally and globally, to help make this return to office as stress-free and appealing to them as C-level employees and their employees who are returning to the office. Because, that's kind of the where the biggest disconnect is lying in what we were just talking about. Like, the employees feeling unheard and the C-level executives really wanting to get the culture back, so to speak. And like, what's going to happen post-COVID? Cultures are changing.
Absolutely.
The culture of work. Right. That's what I mean. Like, the culture of work and office space is changing. So because of that, your company culture is just going to have to change too. Right. So like, what are the creative and unique solutions that you're doing at your company to make it engaging and appealing to employees? And that's where we're really trying to help. There's a lot of very talented, I didn't mention architectural and design firms too, who we partner with to like come up with these, brilliant and cool ideas. I went to a a webinar that Pacific Project Management hosted a couple weeks back, and they had some of their workplace strategists on it, and they had a ton of very interesting, and appealing ideas for companies.
That's really great. And I really think that people are addicted to their own behavior, right? So when you say getting back to normal, we immediately go back to things the way they were and what we know.
Right.
And honestly, that feels comfortable. And I think that that's something that maybe upper management often,
right?
And we see it in politics.
We
see it.
Of course.
We see it everywhere,
mm-hmm.
right? We just go right back to things the way they were,
right?
Rather than being able to change. So you almost need your employee input,
exactly,
right, to get you to evolve,
exactly, because
the companies do need to evolve into these situations, seamlessly and stress-free, like you mentioned, by going to these
professionals.
Professionals, yeah. But I'm also glad that you attended this webinar.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when I hear things like that, it gives me hope, because it's like, okay, there are new things that are out there. I'm glad that people are being smart about it and putting the content out there so that they can open the eyes of maybe those, me as a C-level person and other C-levels to say, okay, how are we going to do this in a better, more efficient, stress-free way for our employees? And I think it's a really important message to get out there, that there are these professionals out there and resources that you can tap into to help that thinking, to help guide you to think differently.
Exactly.
Because it's so hard to go back to normal without doing the same normal things.
Exactly. And, just because they're C-level employees and presidents and owners of companies doesn't mean, they have the answers. I mean, that's not their job, is to have these answers. But there are solutions out there, and the advanced group can offer a lot of those solutions. And like attending those webinars, like I really, really enjoy that type of thinking and creative and unique solutions and ideas. So I'm always trying to, I'm very busy, so I don't have time, to do it every day. But I try to attend them when I can. And when I do, I find them to be very engaging, because it's all very innovative too. Part of this whole pandemic and everything was, again, what we learned, that we can work from home and we can work from anywhere. This has been, known for a long time.
New,
right, exactly. But the pandemic put it into overdrive, and it was something where the mindset was always 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not the case anymore, So how companies go about it, and like with Tim Cook coming out and saying, what we've missed through this we've seen that we can get word and done, but what we've missed is the in-person collaborations that's necessary in order to take our companies to the next level, which is why I want employees to be in the office 3 times a week. And he said it through this big, just monumental statement is what he was trying to make. But what he must have done internally is failed to have any other solutions or ideas as to why they should come back. Like, why? You're telling me that I need to, but why? Why else? And like, that's where companies like the Advanced Group and the companies that we partner with and know globally can help. And I think that's really where there's going to be a good benefit. And not to, tease what we have coming up, but what I want to do with this podcast is get very talented people on who can help with that and have these type of discussions. And that way, people will know that the people, like you were saying, like us, are out there who can really help in that regard. Because, Google and Apple, those are the innovative tech companies where you constantly see, the coolest office spaces and all of the amenities and things of that nature.
How can you not want to go back 3 days a week? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, make it more fun. People are going to restaurants, right?
That's what
They're enjoying their time out, but then they work for Google and Apple and they don't want to come back 3 days a week. How is that possible? Because I would just have so much fun just even being there. And honestly, for me, getting out of the house is like a relief. It's easier for me to do my job, because I'm a people person.
Exactly.
But some people need structure,
mm-hmm.
right? Some people need structure. Some people don't need structure. They need infrastructure. And that's where you get, right? So there's a difference between structure and infrastructure. And that's where you guys come in. And bringing in those experts. So you have software, you have, the technology in order to do it. You have the cleaning systems that need to be done. You have the You were saying planning and office reconfiguration.
Exactly. We do offer a lot of it soup to nuts. So like one of the projects I'm doing right now, and I know I've done a lot of them over the course of the last few months, is getting offices set up for hotel seating, which we talked about. Don't forget your bag.
I always have a bag.
It is setting the offices up and spaced out with like 25% capacity set up for hotel seating. So that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. And that's like step one. That'll allow people to get back into the office. But I think what's going to come, next after that is setting up more spaces that are collaborative or private. Private like Zoom rooms is what I've heard them called, where like, there's incredible acoustics and very good sound and screens and private one-person conference rooms that used to be just the phone booths, which are also very popular and remain that way. But these are a little bit more digitally advanced that are allowing for, those more private Zoom meetings to happen. And one of the other things I wanted to transition to was you see also in the news is Morgan Stanley and Bank of America, the Morgan Stanley CEO, and like the JP.
Now you have the high tech,
right?
And now you have the finance, right?
Exactly.
Almost two completely different cultures,
right,
when it comes to like how you work and
right,
and just by the nature of what they're doing.
And like you said, if you work at Apple and Google, you
and
can't
I'm
wait
at
to
Morgan
get
Stanley. I would be snoring.
Exactly.
Sorry,
true,
no
though.
offense.
But there is some truth to that, though. That is much more of a structured office culture where, the Google and Apple, they got cafeterias, they got gyms, they got meditation rooms, like all of the amenities.
Aromatherapy.
Exactly. But whereas, the Morgan Stanley CEO came out and says, if you can go to a restaurant in New York City, you can come back to the office. And there is some truth in that statement.
Yeah.
And that's not what,
I would like my employees to come in and pay me.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Come in, I'll order you food, sure. Then just instead of me cutting you that check, you could just leave your check right here.
Right. Exactly. And
services rendered.
And that's the interesting part. And but part of that is, again, what has Morgan Stanley done to make the office space either more engaging or more safe for employees? I don't know what they're communicating internally, right?
No,
but when you're coming out in public and making such a, brash statement like that, and again, there is some truth to it, but if you're a Morgan Stanley employee, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I agree with you in some sense, but why should I come back to the office? The office is, nothing has happened, nothing has changed. And, again, that's where we can help. I'd imagine they're putting out some type of internal memos, like here's what we've done, here's how we're implementing safety and stuff like that.
They're doing some kind of communication, but again, there's still, even in communication, there's still a lot of blanks, right? And what are those blanks? Like, okay, there is this new strain, there are other strains of the virus. How long does the vaccine last? There are unknowns, right? We've shown we're productive, so as an employee, you're a little nervous, you're a little hesitant, but
are they though, or they just not want to go back to the office because they're going to restaurants?
Well,
they're going to bars. Now,
True.
Everything's going to be opening up. So
wait, did we just switch? Now I'm for the employee.
Yeah. But it's true.
True.
But that is the thing.
True.
The reason why they go to restaurants and bars is because they're fun. You need to find a way to make the office a little bit more fun and engaging. And whether that's, at Morgan Stanley.
Well, I guess that's where we differ because, yeah, it has to be a little fun, but you also need to be able to get your work done.
Right. But that's the thing.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to be serving cocktails.
No. But I'm saying more of I don't know, if you have Morgan Stanley doing further education about how you can go from a junior banker to a senior banker, I don't know, or more collaborative projects where the incentive is to be in the office, and through being in the office in these collaborative projects, you're going to have an easier way to get up the ladder, because that's all it is in finance, is just climbing your way up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we can answer that question, but I definitely know that it's in the news, and it's something that warrants, taking a look at. And there's something to be said about, the office space just being different, and that's just the way it is.
Right.
We can't get away from that. It's not going to be, although, Morgan Stanley wants it to be back to normal the way they knew it, it's not going to ever be that.
Right.
Because people are not like that anymore.
Right.
We've seen what we're capable of. We're resilient, right?
And we can work from anywhere.
And priorities change.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Of course.
Going through something like that, our
that's
priorities,
the thing, is like you're kind
change.
of lucky to be alive, and like before you're a slave to your job, like people are like, I don't want to be a slave to my job anymore. Like I want to. That's why we see.
I'm going to be good at my job. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to be dedicated, but it doesn't mean that I have to necessarily be here or be part of that older culture or thinking anymore.
And we talk a lot about like the office space and like the office moving, aspect of moving. But like on the residential side, it's absolutely crazy right now with the way people are moving all over the place. It's insane. Like we're booked, and a lot of moving companies are booked like through the summer, like just with these residential moves, interstate moves, moving, whether it's out of New York to Florida or California to Texas. I saw
they realize they don't have to go to the office all the time, so they don't need to be in such close proximity to
or
the
like
city.
just the taxes.
That's what I'm saying. Therefore, we don't have to pay these taxes that we pay out here. Yeah, I mean the Northeast as a whole is definitely crazy with their taxes, and I can see why that's a thing. You know, why people are exiting.
I believe the three biggest states that had exit rates last year were Pennsylvania, New York, and California.
California, they're like leaving in leaps and bounds.
It's crazy. And like, it's just nuts. And then a lot of them are going to...
Well, maybe that's why they're leaving.
Right, exactly. They're going to Texas and Florida. It's unbelievable, what they're seeing there too. But like with all of that change comes, again, some sort of evolution of like...
That's right.
How people are living, how they're working, and what we're talking about here. I know we sound a little redundant, but it's it's just because we care so much and we're seeing it happen. And at the at the end of the day, we just really want to help make it easy for everybody. And that's what I've been working on a lot. Is I'm working with people a lot at the C-level, a lot of employees on the people team, human resources, obviously real estate teams, trying to figure out, how can we make this transition back as easy and safe as possible for our employees? And I do have those resources, not just myself, but, the advanced group as a whole really has those resources because part of the moving process is you're connected to every person throughout, or every industry throughout, whether it's the architecture and design and, you're doing the furniture installations, or the construction team and you're helping them out with warehousing, or the IT team and you're, unboxing and placing monitors and TVs and stuff like that. Right. You got to move it.
You got to move things from home, right?
Right.
Because now you move things out. So how are they going to pack up their office, so to speak, at home? Or are they now having double office, right? So now you're going to have...
It's the reverse. So what it is they're packing up everything that they had in the office at their desks, and they're having employees either come pick them up or deliver them home because nobody has desks anymore. It's all hoteling. So it's not all, but a lot of companies are doing hoteling. So like it's a lot of now like, okay, you no longer have this desk. You're going to log into a portal where you can rent the desk for the day. And we were talking about this before, how we're creatures of habits. So a lot of them are going to go back to the same desk. It's just not going to be as personalized anymore. But that flexibility is nice, And again, that's what companies want to do and offer that flexibility with hotel seating. Like, listen, because especially at the tech companies, some floors are better than others. So like I sat on a floor that's been around since 2004, whereas we took a floor in 2015 that's completely renovated. Now I want to sit on the 15th floor, and stuff like that. So it's all very interesting and cool. But we're seeing
even now that they're going back to the office, some 3 days a week, some 5 days a week. No, never 5 days.
I mean, again, some smaller companies, sure, and that's the other thing too. You can control an office culture a little bit easier when there's only, 200 employees or something like that.
Sure.
But with an Apple and a Google, there's over 10,000 employees, that's harder. But it's very few companies are requiring 5 days a week anymore. It's just, it's not going to be that way.
So I'm not packing up my house.
Not anymore. You don't need your overnight bag. No plants.
No plants?
None of that. None of the plants.
I like my plants.
I know, but you're better
off
keeping it
Can I bring my dog?
Home. Probably a lot of companies. When I was at WeWork, there were dogs everywhere floating around there.
Yeah.
But the plants are better off at home anyways. You can give them the TLC they need because you're not going to be in the office 5 days a week anymore.
True.
So, you can't,
True. I can't count on,
right.
John who's coming in right behind me to water my plant tomorrow.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yeah, I guess
precisely.
So. And who knows what those cleaning agents have in
exactly,
there.
Exactly. So that's why you don't really want that. But it's all very fascinating. And like, we're really in a position now, like I had mentioned at the front of the episode, that we are in full-blown execution mode now. There's still some for the companies that took their time and are really planning for their September after Labor Day return to office. We're starting the planning process with them, but a lot of the larger companies that I work with are in the middle of getting their offices set for like a Labor Day, at least opening the office. And
Labor Day, as fast as Labor Day, really?
Yeah. That's what it is, and that's what the Morgan Stanley CEO said too. He said, if I don't see full offices by Labor Day, I'll be very disappointed, or something along those lines. And even Bank of America
that's really
too.
fast though.
Yeah.
I mean, how is the advanced group's estimating system changing during a time where you're getting so bombarded? Are you able to do it quicker? Is there it's less handhold?
What it is, it's more of a
what's
budgeting
happening.
system. It's more of a budgeting system, and like whenever you budget for anything, you want to kind of plan for everything and then work your way back from there. Kind of pick and choose, like, what do we need? What are our necessities in this budget? And what do we have to pay for? And then what can we scale back to either happen, in phase 2 of this return to office process, or see if we even need that at all. And that's where we're at with a lot of companies. We'll put together these budgets because I've spoken about this before. So many companies only think about the moving aspect, but we provide that consultation where we plan for the IT aspect and like the warehousing aspect.
The IT aspect of this must be insane.
It is, yeah, like the low voltage and the changing to offices and stuff like that.
Even the phone systems, you're gonna have multiple people using the same phone. You're giving out direct lines. What are you doing? Everything's
phones
just phones are dead now.
Yeah,
I've even noticed it, which I need to return something, and I have a question, right? Like I'm just gonna say I've purchased online. I need to return something. I can't call.
It's hard.
So I mean, like every company a lot of companies are moving away from phone systems due to
salespeople have phones,
right?
Yeah, salespeople has phones, but a lot of them have their own personal headsets too. So it's not like they're touching the phones and putting it on their mouth and stuff like that.
Right. But I'm just saying, how do you get in touch with that person? Like from an IT standpoint, if I'm not in all the time, that's a whole other conundrum to kind of manage and figure out. I know it doesn't take brain surgery, but I'm just saying, like, the IT aspect of a move and returning to office, not being in office, where are you going, how are you communicating, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And that's what we talked about with Greg last time, as far as like set it up the cloud and stuff like that, and making sure that regardless of where employees are, they're all of the IP for the company is being saved on their personal cloud and stuff like that. Communication again.
So security issues, I'm sure, are huge.
Right.
When it comes to IT, there's just so much room for failure. So I'm happy to see that the advanced group understands that the devil's in the details in issues like this, and manages that for many companies in the New York metro area and even outside. So speaking of being outside of the New York metro area, you were in Denver.
I was at an OMA conference out there, the Office Moving Alliance, and I was
Omaha. What is OMA?
OMA is the Office Moving Alliance, OMA.
Oh, got it.
And it was very interesting. It was my first one, and I was very, very impressed with a couple things. Just the quality of people out there was very, very impressive to me. I mean, I'm still young in this industry, thankfully. So a lot of
really old.
Yeah, a lot of the ladies and gentlemen who are out there and have been in this industry for a while, to me, are just incredibly impressive. They've forgotten more than I know, and to know that I have them in these different areas of the country is very comforting, because
so they're different moving companies
all throughout the country. That is the purpose of OMA, the Office Moving Alliance, is a group of moving companies throughout the United States and globally who have come together and essentially made these partnerships that when we have clients in different parts of the country and the world, that we know we have these partners who have been vetted and qualified to handle the work for us as an extension of ourselves.
So you can share your resources.
Right.
Be stronger together.
Exactly. Exactly. And these resources are abundant, like more so because it's brick and mortar, you know, as a team, OMA has the trucks, has the warehouse space, has the manpower, has the technology. And that was the second part that I was really impressed with some of the technology that we're rolling out for OMA, specifically to answer the needs that companies have as part of the pandemic. Well, logistics and the pandemic, about like not being able to be on site. And, you know, some of these communicative tools that we're rolling out for, even though, you know, the facilities people, the real estate people, whoever's in charge of the move can't be on site for one reason or another due to COVID, we have this new technology that is allowing us to communicate, you know, on site and regardless of where they are. So it's very interesting and very cool, and I'm excited for the direction that it's heading in. I've known about OMA for a long time, even before I was at the Advanced Group, and it always really impressed me. I thought it was the best solution to servicing clients globally, is having these brick and mortar partners in different cities, as opposed to some of these other companies who we compete with, where they outsource the work. And
I was just going to say, how is it different than outsourcing?
Because when you outsource,
question.
there's a bit of a scramble. You know, like I remember, and I'm not going to like say names or anything like that. Like I don't want to badmouth, but when I know when I did my first job in Singapore, the company that we were working with didn't have any resources in Singapore. They had to bring on a new partner to do that. And I mean, again, I wasn't worried about it because I knew what had to get done and I knew I could have communicated it regardless.
Yes.
But if I didn't know that, it could have been a real problem. And if it was a small job, if it was a bigger job, you know, there's some scrambling that's going on there. And whenever you're in the moving industry, you don't want to be scrambling. You want to know that you can, you know, get a plan set for your client, and then wherever that project's happening, go to the partner in that area, relay the plan, and have it executed upon, you know, and know that you're going to go to that partner and they're going to be able to comprehend and meet the demands of that plan, regardless of what it is. Because, you know, let's say hypothetically speaking, there was an IT portion of that plan where we needed guys to cable and do low voltage and set up TVs and monitors and security systems and all that stuff. Well, we just give that plan to the client and they say, great, go do it. And then we find out, you know, the partner in that city doesn't offer IT work. So now we have to go out and find an IT vendor on top of the move vendor.
So that's outsourcing.
Right, exactly.
But when you're part of OMA, these partners already exist.
And you can look beforehand.
They're qualified.
Right. And you can look beforehand that they have that IT service. So you can go in knowing that you're going to give this plan to your client and then go to your partner and easily have that executed upon.
OMA's core business or reason for existence is to offer that partnership so you don't get yourself into these unknowns.
Precisely. It's really knowing that regardless of where you're doing work for your clients. And that's why, you know, I wanted to do national accounts with the Advanced Group, because the Advanced Group has done such a good job in the New York metro area of establishing themselves as one of the top, you know, moving workplace services companies. I wanted to bring that nationally and globally, and I knew by being a part of OMA, a founding member of OMA, we had those resources to do it, which is why I really try to offer that to clients, because again, as that single point of contact and then understanding how to communicate with vendors in different markets due to my end user experience working on that side, I can make it happen, and I know I can do it very well. So that's why I really appreciate OMA. I appreciate all the partners. It was great for me to meet them and get to know them a little better. I'm excited for the next event and to continue to grow. You know, as we come out of this pandemic, there are going to be a lot of really interesting and unique opportunities to service companies nationally and globally. And to know that I have the foundation of both the Advanced Group and OMA as a partner to do it is very, very excited for me. I'm you know, giddy at it. So I'm really looking forward to what's to come.
Well, I have to say there was a lot of great information shared today.
Yeah, this was fun. This is like the first time we've kind of done it like this. It was good.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, I think you'll be hearing more about returning to office and the trends and what's happening as the world evolves. So we're moving. So thanks, Jack, for a great episode.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Looking forward to the next one.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast at theadvancedgrp.com. That's theadvancedgrp.com.